us to our next conversation, where the Nigeria Labour Congress has sacked the Julius Abure-led National Working Committee of the Labour Party. Now, this was issued in a communique at the end of its political commission stakeholders meeting in Abuja, when the NLC passed a vote of no confidence on the March 27th National Convention that re-elected Abure as chairman. Now, the stakeholders resolved that the transition committee should conduct the affairs of the party pending the conduct of an all-inclusive and expansive national convention, and should immediately set up an assets recovery process of all the properties of the party. All right, let's quickly take that story, and we'll return to continue our conversation. Stay with us.
The Nigerian workers-based political party is still in crisis, and concerned members are in search of a sustainable solution. Labour Party is days after it picketed the headquarters of the Labour Party in Abuja, where it declared the party's national chairman, Julius Abure, persona non grata, the political commission of the Nigeria Labour Congress brings together leading actors in the party in its quest for a solution. NLC insists the party is an ideological movement, but the primary purpose of conscientizing Nigerians on the need to foster good governance and acceptable political leadership. It announces a committee that will midwife a new national convention to produce a replacement for Julius Abure.
Expect that this meeting should set up a transition committee for the purpose of conducting an all-inclusive and expansive national convention of the Labour Party, from what congresses all through to the national convention.
For the party's national leader and presidential candidate in the 2023 elections, Peter Obi, an amicable resolution of all crises is critical to achieving set goals.
One of the particular committees should look very seriously in reconciling all legal issues and eliminating them.
Leading actors here described the crisis rocking the party as unfortunate and inconsistent with the ideals of its founding fathers.
All the major stakeholders here have now agreed to come together to form a union that would rescue our party, reposition our party so that we will become a force to be reckoned with.
Human beings are, synonymous to crisis. And it is also human beings that can make sure that crises are abated. We have said enough is enough. We cannot continue to have a Labour Party where leaders will be transactional.
The political commission of the Nigeria Labour Congress hopes to begin mass mobilization of Nigerian workers and other citizens into the Labour Party for the needed numerical strength to gain power in the next political dispensation. Observers say how soon this is achieved remains a matter of conjecture. Joke Edsa, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, we still have our guests in the studio, Darlington Umoru as well as Biodun Shomi, to talk about matters, the developments coming out of the Labour Party as it is. As it is often said, things fall apart, and it's looking like the centre cannot hold for some of these parties. We had talked about the PDP earlier. Now we are shifting over to the NLC, the Labour Party, the rift between the NLC and the Labour Party as it is, where the Labour Congress is saying they have the authority to sack the Julius Abure-led committee, and Julius is saying you have no constitutional rights to do that. But talk to us about all of these matters that are springing up within these parties. After the 2023 elections, it seems most of these parties that a lot of Nigerians were hoping will be vibrant opposition as it is, are seemingly not holding it all together.
Yes, the problem of Labour Party started long before the 2023 election. It started from the moment Peter Obi got the ticket, moved in from PDP, and then they now had to impose chairman or leadership at the state level, ward level, local government level, and all that, without a proper convention in some cases, state convention in some cases, ward convention, because Labour Party had little or no presence in many parts, of the north at that time. So we saw all this going on, and then you now have Abure, wanting to hold on to that leadership, and you now have a new NLC structures in all those areas saying, look, we have to go through ward, local government and state elections. Abure will have none of that, knowing that he will lose those structures to the NLC. Now, the other problem which they had prior to this election was, to the last election, was the issue of manifesto. Right. You will remember that the Labour Party had to set up a panel, a committee led by Professor Patutomi to agree on the Labour presidential candidate perspectives and panacea to Nigeria's problem, and marry that with the NLC Charter of Demands with a view to produce what they call manifesto. They were on it for a long time. It became embarrassing that Labour could not produce a manifesto because of the ideological differences between the NLC's position, which is strictly against nationalization, is strictly against the control of the commanding heights of the economy by the private sector, is against devaluation of Naira. And Obi's solution to national problem, which aligns, with the position, which includes the issue of removal of fuel subsidy, aligns with Atiku and Tinubu's position. So they were faced with that ideological problem. How do you resolve this? How do you marry it? The NLC leadership kept quiet. They decided to tolerate those problems, those challenges, simply because they wanted power. And the major fatal error made by NLC, in my view, within the Labour Party was their tolerance of the money seizure of the federal government under the guise of changing Naira, new notes. If you remember at that point in time, about 3.6 trillion Naira was withdrawn from the economy at a point in time when the CBN governor, Emefiele at the time, told IMF that only 45% of Nigerians operate bank accounts. 3.6 trillion was withdrawn from the economy, and then they printed 420 billion, later 480 billion, up to 480 billion Naira, and then pumped that back into the economy. So people money were seized. Those 55% Nigerians with that bank account who went to give their money to POS operator or to a relation to change it for them who no longer have access to their money. People were crying on national telly. We saw people dying as a result of the money seizure of the federal government, of the CBN at that point in time. The NLC, again, kept quiet. They tolerated it. They did not condemn it, even though they took an anti-working class position at that point in time.
So is that what is causing
yes,
the issues?
You see where I'm going now.
Right.
So the discomfort of many civil society activists and labor activists. Now, after the election, and Obi lost that election, the Labour Party lost the election, it's now time for soul searching. What is going on currently is soul searching. The NLC leadership now wants to ideologically take control of the Labour Party. You have the Abure faction, which to a large extent is backing Peter Obi. They are also within the same Labour Party. Don't forget that Obi came with his own obedience. That's another group within the Labour Party, which if Obi moves today, they will move with him. So Labour Party is in a serious, critical, intensive care unit at this very, very moment. Because the NLC leadership will not give way. Simply because of the Charter of Demands. The NLC Charter of Demands, they will not give way on that. As far as they are concerned, they own the Labour Party, and Labour Party is supposed to project their Charter of Demands. And you have the other faction who are saying, no, that cannot happen. We are an ordinary association of politicians, and it's not about ownership of NLC. So I cannot see this being resolved easily. It's just a problem that Obi has to either manage or he will end up leaving the Labour Party.
He has said that he's not leaving the party. That he's
Obi has said that before. You remember when he was in Abga? He said he was going nowhere. Right. And then he ended up in PDP. He didn't still stop there. He ended up in Labour Party. So his antecedent does not help or support his viewpoint. Obi says these things, but in reality, he's a politician.
Well,
if
now
it
that
is practicable to move, he will move.
Maybe, perhaps now that he has a huge support base, he might have to rethink some of his decisions. He can't just take certain decisions as he used to before now. But let's get your perspective of this whole matter stemming from what he has said.
Well, it's I don't really. It's to me the whole political arrangement with all of these political parties is becoming a bit childish. Well, sometimes it is expected when people, political parties will begin to think of the next election. You know, not really looking at
ideologies.
Yes, all of this is not really about ideology and all of that. It's about political interest. You know, I think many of them are beginning to think of what will be in the next election, who will be there, and all of that.
And they need to start building towards.
Why is NLC just waking up all of a sudden?
To these issues.
Why are they just waking up? It's either somebody...
Perhaps they want to clean house. At least one day you just wake up and realize you need to do something.
One day you just wake up and realize that you need to do something, and you begin to do something on the wrong path.
Oh, they're on the wrong path.
At this point in time, what the NLC is expected to be doing is to form a formidable opposition. Right now, we do not have a formidable opposition to this government. Where's the PDP? Is it only when we begin to think of elections that the PDP will come out, somebody will come out, they say this one will come out, then they begin to look at it? Where is the formidable opposition that is supposed to help shape this, put this government in shape? Obi made a lot of impact and a lot of noise. Is NLC not supposed to be, the Labour Party not supposed to be consolidating on that? I was with Obi in Anambra State over the weekend, where we attended the burial of the richest Nigerian in Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire, who died on February 7th in the game between Nigeria and South Africa in the stadium. The man was buried over the weekend. Obi was there, and some other dignitaries. You see, the challenge we have is that some of these politicians, because I tried to, at a point in time, separate Labour Party from the NLC. NLC's position is that Labour Party is theirs.
Yes.
And so they must say what it should be.
They have a say, a decision to...
And then people are beginning to insinuate, putting words. Obi says he's going to leave the Labour Party. Obi at another time says he's not leaving the Labour Party. And his antecedent does not suggest that we should take into...
You know,
his antecedents does not suggest that we should hold him to his words to say whether I will leave the Labour Party or otherwise. Where was the Labour Party before Obi actually joined?
Oh, Darlington, you know, interestingly, the point you are making about building a strong opposition within the Labour Party is exactly what is the problem currently. Don't forget that they want to organize elections, right from local government, you know, states, ward unit, local government, and states to produce new leadership, even the way those who are there currently.
But they're trying to build a structure. Yes. But even with the past leadership, this crisis didn't start today. Even with the leadership they are talking about, the crisis there didn't start today. They've gone to courts, in and out of courts over time, even rather than concentrate on election matters and then look at on how to garner support. There's been this heating up issues in the Labour Party as per who leads and all of that. Today, this one will emerge to tell us that he's the leader of the Labour Party, he's the chairman. This one will come up tomorrow to say he's the... They've all gone to court, back and forth and all of that, and then courts will not take decisions for them. And even so, they will still go back to court.
It's an attempt to put in a proper structure that is leading to this problem. Abure faction leadership are benefiting from the present situation. They don't want the elections at unit, local government, and state level because the NLC will control those structures, which will eventually now produce the delegates that will determine who becomes the national chairman. That was why they moved very fast and said, no, we won't allow this to happen. And rather, they called the old chairmen, who were in reality imposed in different areas, you know, when Obi came into the party, and then called them to come and ratify that Abure's convention. So, as far as INEC is concerned, they did not participate in that convention, and it is not legal, as far as they are concerned. So, we now see the attempt, you know, to ensure that there is internal democracy within the Labour Party, which is now being championed by NLC because they will be at an advantage, and against Abure, who has
But what is NLC's interest in all of this? That's the question.
There's a consent judgment. There's a consent judgment that NLC owns Labour Party.
Yeah,
it's a consent judgment.
Yeah, because there are those who feel that NLC should just focus on what it is set up to do and leave politics for the people, for the party itself to handle as it is.
Absolutely. But NLC, one way or the other, has gone into party formation. There's a consent judgment. There's a consent judgment that says both parties agreed that NLC owns Labour Party.
Right.
That is where the contradiction is. Because how would you effectively be able to defend or project workers' interest without it being, seen from a partisan viewpoint? And that's one of the problems NLC would end up in. They've not been able to provide
Did we have that problem all the while? We didn't seem to have that problem all the while.
Let's not deceive ourselves.
All right.
Some of these things we are saying are projections and expectations. But is that the truth of it? NLC is overwhelmed with activities that they've not been able to achieve or conquer. They are saddled with certain responsibilities. Whether they are the owners of Labour Party or otherwise, the responsibilities Nigerians themselves have saddled on them. Have they been able to
resolve
to not just resolve, deliver
on it?
Then you want to also add. You want to add how many palm nuts into your mouth and chew at the same time. Just like you saw me just laughing when she was asking you that question. The truth is obvious. What is the interest? Now, Labour Party has suddenly become a bride because a certain person came into Labour Party and then Labour Party is known. Labour Party won election in areas where they never thought they would have been able to win.
Right.
Today, Labour Party has members at the National Assembly, even a senator.
A governor.
A governor too.
Our time is up. Quickly wrap up your thoughts.
Now, it's about interest. The leadership of Labour Party. What is their interest? Not Labour Party, sorry.
The NLC.
The NLC, the leadership in NLC that has not been able to deliver its workers, its people from bondage. Now want to dabble into politics and be involved in politics also. And then what do they want to achieve in Labour
At the end of the day, gentlemen, we'll have to leave this conversation here. Unfortunately, time is not our friend, but we must thank you, Public Affairs Analyst Biodun Shomi, for your time, as well as former Consultant Presidential Committee on Small Arms and Light Weapons, Darlington Umoru, for your time.
My pleasure.
On the program as well. Well, this is where we draw the curtains on the program for today.